Steph Curry shoots free throws every day. Greatest shooter in the world, still shoots free throws every day. What on earth makes you think that you should not practice your skill set when you're not the Steph Curry of anything?
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer, and with me, excited to have Tony Acosta. Tony, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing so well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, really appreciate you joining me on the show. Tony is a seasoned real estate broker. He's got over 13 years of experience serving as the director of agent development at the Perry Group, one of the top performing teams. And he specializes in coaching, training agents, equipping them with skills and systems needed to scale their businesses successfully. You're also a TEDx speaker and organizer, passionate about public speaking. So I love that. I really love public speaking. So we'll have to dive into that a little bit. But Tony, give our listeners maybe a bit more about your background, what you're doing today, what you're focused on, what you're excited about that's happening today.
Absolutely. So I started in real estate back in 2013. I started just as a regular showing agent. I'd never run a business before. I'd never dreamed of being an agent. My family never bought real estate growing up. It just wasn't a thing for us. And I just started working my way up. I was a showing assistant for about 3 years, which is a long time. Now I know that, but at the time it was the best gig in the world. I became a principal broker in 2017. And that's really where a lot of my focus has changed, because now I went from just being an agent that tried to service clients to being somewhat responsible for the results of others. So that's what got me into wanting to improve my presentation skills, my public speaking skills, because now I was in a position where I was putting together trainings and coaching sessions and things like that. In 2019, I became a member of the Forbes Real Estate Council, which was a lot of fun. I kind of got to be a fly on the wall with some of the best brokers in America. I learned way more than I contributed to that, in fairness, but it was a great experience. Now I am at the Perry Group, which is the #1 team at Real Broker. We did about 1,100 transactions last year, and I'm director of agent development. So my job is back to my 2017 broker days, helping these agents develop their skill set, develop systems so that they can actually be effective. So real estate has obviously a soft spot in my heart. That's my day job. And then TEDx, I am a organizer here in my county. So I've been doing that for a couple of years. It's a lot of fun. I get to take care of from the logistical aspect of the event to training the speakers themselves, going over their applications, helping them polish their message. And so between those two, it keeps us pretty busy.
Why would somebody, what's the benefit of TEDx and doing a TEDx presentation? Why would somebody want to do it? What does it make sense for?
So I think there's a couple of ways to look at it. Number one, TEDx is the biggest, most prominent brand in public speaking, probably in the world.
Yeah, probably.
And so from a networking perspective, from an opportunities perspective, it's massive. If you can get on a TEDx stage, not only do you have the opportunity of being seen by millions of people on their YouTube channel, but it really does elevate your standing. If there's anybody that wants to be a speaker, if you can attach TEDx to that, it puts you in a different stratosphere. That's number one. I think that TEDx has a very unique way that they put together their events in this sense. For everybody that goes through TEDx, they have to take their big idea we're sharing, and condense it into 15 to 18 short minutes. And that's very difficult for a lot of people to do, especially people that are used to speaking. Often you're going to get 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 90 minutes to be able to give your speech. When you have to condense that to 18 minutes, it forces you to be more concise, to trim the fat, to really get to the point faster. So whether or not you actually get on the TEDx stage, whether or not you're chosen, the process of building a short, concise, powerful 18-minute message absolutely translates to when you are having a conversation with a partner, in your business, with your team. We often ramble on too much. We talk too much. If we can condense and be concise, I found that to be incredibly valuable.
It's funny. I love public speaking, and I've given a lot of like 30 to 45 minute presentations, and I like that time frame because you're not rushed. But I was at a conference where I got to speak, and it was I think it was a 20-minute presentation. But by the time it was like, I get introduced and all that kind of stuff, it was about 17, 18 minutes. And it was, I feel like it was one of the best speeches I gave because it was so condensed and concise, and I had to be on top of it, on point, right from the start. I couldn't mess around, and you just had to be like right on it right away. So I kind of like that 18 minutes is a
It's
little
great.
sweet spot.
For sure. It forces you to trim the fat. And all of a sudden you realize, man, I talk way more than I need to. Because now if you have the same message, it's like, okay, now I know how to deliver it in 18 minutes. I don't need 45 minutes. So if I have 45 minutes, then I can add more value onto that. And so I've seen a tremendous amount of value in learning to be more concise, get to the point faster. It just changes everything.
That's cool. Does it make sense for who does it make sense for if I am going, hey, TEDx, that sounds really cool. I'd love to do that. Who does it make sense for? Who is it benefiting? And who should think about it?
So great question. TEDx has actually made a lot of changes recently in regards to this. In the past, TEDx felt like or seemed like a platform that was only for professional speakers. So when you thought TEDx, you thought, okay, I need to have a vast resume of speaking engagements. I need to have film, and I need to have a brand, and I need to have a lot of followers. Otherwise, I'm not going to get chosen. I think some chapters kind of went in that direction. TEDx has completely reversed course and tried to make it more local, grassroots, first-time speakers. And so you no longer need that massive resume in order to participate in TEDx. I think that is a very valuable change that they've made, because for all of TEDx's virtues, it's felt intimidating in the past. So who does it make sense for? Anybody that has an idea worth sharing. And that's what's so cool, because when you go to a TEDx event, it's not all just going to be motivational. You might have somebody that talks about parenting, and then somebody talks about technology, and somebody talks about art, and then somebody talks about medicine. There's so many different ways to share an idea worth sharing. So what I would say is that if you identify an event theme that you have a unique perspective on, whether through experience or through knowledge that you can speak on, you should muster up the courage to share that idea.
Yeah, love that. All right, let's dive into a couple of the other things here. So communication, you talked before, like communication's a big thing for you. Obviously, you're now a leader of a team. So when you started out, as just selling houses, and I should say just, but selling houses, it looked different. Then all of a sudden you become a broker, you do coaching, like you're doing more. Talk about communication, the importance of communication, and then like some tools for people to be effective at communicating. Because that is, in my opinion, communication is one of the biggest, most important principles of being a successful entrepreneur, leader, anything.
Without a doubt. Great question. It's actually been really enlightening to see over the last couple of weeks. We have implemented a lot more scripts training here with our team, and it's been refreshing to see and enlightening to see the impact that agents feel when they get the words out. So what I found is that early on in my career, I was in a camp of agents that I didn't know what to say. And because I didn't know what to say, I obviously didn't know how to say it. Yeah. So I was terrified to get asked a question that I couldn't answer. So all of my interactions were very surface level. I was always texting people because I didn't want to call or meet in person because I felt like that was out of my control.
Ask the question.
Yes, I didn't want them to throw me a curveball. So it's okay. How do I avoid the curveball? I'm just going to text you. And then if you ask me a question over text, at least I have time to Google it before I respond. When you're face to face, you can't do that. So I was in that camp. I didn't know what to say, so I didn't know how to say it. Then as I got a little bit more experienced, I got to a point where I knew what to say, but every time I tried to say it, it was weird. I would ramble on. I had a lot of filler words. It wasn't clear. So then it got to, okay, I know what I'm trying to say. I know what I'm trying to communicate. I don't know how to say it. Help me say it. What are the right words? What's the right phrasing? When do I know if I'm rambling on? And so the way that I solved that was through these scripts training. So what I did for our team was I built a GPT that gives you random buyer and seller objections. So you'll click on the button, it'll give you a buyer objection, it'll give you a seller objection. So with our team now, we're spending 2 to 3 hours a week role playing these scenarios in a very thoughtful and intentional way, to where I usually pose as the buyer or the seller. We have 2 agents that are across from me, and they're going to try to navigate that objection, whether it's I want to wait until rates come down to buy, or I don't want to pay a full commission for whatever it is. And it's very intentional. It's not, okay, run through it, and then at the end, I'll give you some feedback. It's literally, hey, stop, go back, phrase it this way, condense it. And it's been incredible to see the improvement that we've seen from our agents over the last 30 to 60 days that we've been implementing that.
Creating a script. So you're just, are you constantly adding more, objections and questions and things like that as how are you deciding? Because there's a lot of, obviously, people say a lot of things, ask a lot of things, have a lot of different objections. How are you deciding which ones to train on? Or is by training on kind of the most common ones, arming them with the ability then to answer the other more difficult questions that maybe haven't been trained on? How does that?
So we start with the most common ones.
Yeah.
So as real estate agents, we're going to have, I don't know, the same 4 to 6 conversations over and over again. You're going to have a buyer consultation. You're going to have a listing presentation. You're going to have an agent negotiation call. You're going to have to explain a purchase contract to send an offer. Like, there's a lot of repetition in the way that we're going to have our conversations. So we have to nail those. The 4 to 6 core conversations have to be dialed in. And then obviously there's going to be a lot of nuance, whether you're talking to a first-time buyer, or you're talking to an investor, or you're talking to a seller, a divorce situation. There is going to be nuance there. But what we found is that when we start with the most common, that builds confidence, because that's what's going to give them the reps. Once you have the reps, then you start learning how to ask questions, how to follow up, how to use mirroring techniques, how to do all of those things, so that then when you get a more difficult scenario, you're better equipped to handle it.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And building that confidence right from the start is a huge benefit. When we're starting a conversation, if I'm starting out and I don't know what I'm talking about, or I'm confused right away, or the person I'm talking to is confused because I didn't present or ask the right questions, the conversation starts out awkward. It's really hard to get out of that awkward phase, and so just starting out right makes it feel so much better, doesn't it?
So much better, without a doubt. And because think about it, Todd, agents or any entrepreneur in general that doesn't want to prospect, whatever that looks like, they don't want to go on social media. They don't want to door knock. They don't want to cold call. Why is it? The core reason why is because you're afraid to not know what to say.
Yeah.
Or you're afraid to say it wrong, or that you're going to sound stupid, or that it's all about, I don't know what to say. Like, the things that come out of my mouth, I don't like how it sounds. I feel like my voice sucks. There's all of this negativity that comes with talking. So when you learn how to talk to someone, all of that fear and anxiety goes away. Now, all of a sudden, I can grab my phone. I can go live at any moment in time. You want me to make a reel about the market? Great, I can do it. If I need to go make calls, if I need to go to an open house, I can do it because I know how to talk to people.
Yep.
So that once you eliminate that fear, sky's the limit. I mean, now nothing can stop you, because you know from the work that you've put in that you know how to have a conversation. And if somebody asks you something that you don't know the answer to, you know how to handle that as well. You know how to ask clarifying questions. You know how to make people feel comfortable when you're talking to them. That is the skill set that is going to increase people's sales.
Yeah. So besides script training, role playing, is there any other tools, techniques that you find helpful for effective communication?
Yeah, a lot of record and review. So it's kind of 1A with the scripting, but it's not just doing the exercise to do it. The exercise needs to be recorded and then it needs to be replayed. I liken this to watching film. Whenever there's after a game, you're going to sit down. If you're a good player, you're going to watch some film. The coach is going to watch some film and you're going to break it down and you're going to go through that. Because here's the thing, Todd. If I record a session, whether it's in most cases, it's going to be just the audio. So if I have a buyer consultation and I record the audio, it doesn't mean that I have to have a camera in my face or the client's face. That's awkward. That's weird. Don't do that. But if I record the audio and I hear it back and it's awful, that's what the client heard. And so when you do this record and review process, it's really cringy at first, but it allows you to then improve. Yeah. So it's not just scripting for the sake of scripting. It's what happens next. Listening to the tape and making intentional improvements is, I think, another element. That would be version 2.0 to actually getting better.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. I've been talking a lot about like when making mistakes, just you got to learn from what you're doing. If you're not learning from what you're doing and trying to improve upon it, like what good is it? We make mistakes. That sucks. Let's at least utilize that for the better of, to try to get better every day. And by actually recording these conversations and then utilizing like that recording and truly improving yourself. That's awesome. That's actually something I need to start doing more when I'm having investor conversations or just overall conversations with anybody. You got to start recording yourself and listening to it. And by the way, it's good to help other people learn too. So it's not just yourself.
Without a doubt. Of course. And so for all those team leaders out there, or if you have whatever it is, you have a sales team or you got a couple guys under you that are making calls. If you can establish a culture of workouts, we've tried to change the terminology. Instead of, we're going to go script, whatever it is, it's just a workout. Mm-hmm. It's literally a workout. And if you can create a culture where people want to get on the bench press and try, that's the ultimate. It's difficult to do because there's always a lot of fear. People don't want to look dumb, whatever it is. If you can break past that and people want to get on the bench press and see what they've got, and they know that they're going to get valuable feedback, they're not going to be judged, nobody's going to make fun of them, everybody's kind of on the same boat, that is the ultimate unlock to a more productive sales force.
Love that. Let's talk about building a team and being a leader. You obviously didn't start that way, but now you've built a team. You're a leader. What are a couple of key, just core, things that you've been that have been to your success? Like why have you been able to be successful building a team and being a good leader?
Yeah, great question. I'll say two things. Number one, I have done it. So it's not a fake it till you make it. I know what it feels like to be a brand new agent. I know what it feels like to be scared. I know what it feels like to have a pipeline that has nothing in it. I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to be terrified when you have your only closing that you need to pay your mortgage, and then they either cancel or they ask for an extension. So I've been there. I know what that feels like. That's number one. And number two, I have been very proactive in trying to be useful wherever I'm at, without expectation of pay. Without expectation of pay up first. When I first joined I joined this team 18 months ago. And when I first interviewed to join the team, it was a brand new team in a different county, starting from scratch. My initial comment to the team leader, which is still our team leader today, was, I'm just trying to be useful. I owned an agency for 3 years. I did the whole broker, CEO, owner thing. That was fun. It was great. But I really wanted to be somewhere where I could be useful. So often you're not going to be in a position to get a massive raise or to get paid a bunch of money to be able to be a leader. So the question is, if you're going to do this right, would you still help the people in your office if you didn't have a financial incentive to do so? Sometimes the answer is going to be no. It's like, you know what? I'm busy enough as it is. Best of luck to you. Fine, respect, no problem. But if you aspire to leadership, then you have to put your money where your mouth is, if you will. And you have to take some time to actually help the people in the room before you see a financial incentive. I have found, to my great dismay, very few people are willing to do that. They want the paycheck before they'll provide any value. I think I have been fortunate enough to do it in the reverse, and it's played out.
Yeah, I mean, that's really valuable, especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur. You have to provide the value. You have to provide the value before you expect to get the pay. And by the way, you'll be rewarded much greater than if you do it the opposite way. If you get paid and then add the value, certainly you can make some money. But if you can do it the opposite way, where you're just adding a ton of value and eventually getting paid, I think you're going to get rewarded 10x.
Every single time. And I think providing value is kind of the biggest buzzword in entrepreneurship. Everybody talks about what does that mean? Providing value for me, very simply, is the place where you're at or the person that you're talking to, is it better? Is it enhanced because you exist? Is it better because you exist? So if we're talking about an office setting, how do I provide value to my office? Am I willing to talk to agents, walk them through things, help them with their own objections, help them build from scratch, give them some of the lessons, things that worked for me, things that didn't work for me? Am I willing to do that? Are my neighbors, is my office enhanced because I exist? Same thing with your customers. We talk about this all the time. If your only value is sending homes, they don't need you for that. Zillow exists. But the question is my customers' home buying or home selling experience enhanced because I exist? I think that is the definition, at least that I have adopted, of providing value. I didn't know what that meant for a long time.
Yeah, I can think back when I first, when my wife and I were first looking at our very first home, and we used two different realtors, and the very first one just didn't provide any, or I shouldn't say any value, very little value. You know, it was like he was showing us homes that didn't make sense for us and running us around all over town and very scattered, just didn't provide the value. And then we just couldn't find anything. So finally we're like, we got to go talk to somebody else. We went to talk to somebody that was referred to us. And within, I don't know, maybe a week or less, we had a property under contract that we ended up moving into because they provided a ton of value. They communicated really well. They listened extremely well. And it was the difference between, you know, it was better because of them versus the other person.
And I guarantee you that second agent probably wasn't incredibly more talented than the first one. He probably just asked 4 to 5 better questions that you answered that allowed him to then do his job better. But again, it comes down to communication. If you don't know what those questions are, or you're scared to ask, then you end up doing that exact same thing as realtor number one. And unfortunately, there are a lot of agents that are on that boat. And that's why you see these stats of the average agent sells 3 to 4 homes a year. That's why. But you might be, in order to be realtor number 2, all you need to do, literally all you need to do, Todd, is learn and practice 3 to 4 clarifying questions, and you're off to the races. That's it.
And listen to the answers.
Listen. Yep.
Yeah. You got started in a tough market, 2013, and was just starting to kind of improve, right? I feel like a lot of people are saying, well, we're now getting into potentially a tough market again. What is your advice for, I guess, starting in and working through a difficult market, whether that's happening today or happening in the near future? What's your advice for that?
It's interesting you asked that, because I just posted on social media just yesterday, I think, that every market is weird. Every 30 days or so, I hear somebody, oh, this market's so weird. It was weird in 2013. Then it was weird in 2017. It was weird in 2021. It's weird now. So it's always going to be weird. There's always something in the market that is not ideal for somebody. I think where I have tried to have some success is, regardless of the market, find the opportunity. Every market has opportunity for someone. For example, when it was in the pandemic, you had multiple offers, and people that had more cash had greater opportunities. It was a better market for them because they could offer a little bit more, they could waive appraisals, and they could lock in 2.5, 3% interest rates. That was a great market for them. If you didn't have a ton of disposable cash during those times, at least here in Utah, you struggled.
Yeah.
You couldn't win offers. Now it's a little bit different. Now, where is the opportunity? For example, we're seeing here in my county, over 40% of inventory is new construction.
Wow.
And so with that new construction, there's a ton of incentives. I just saw one the other day. There's a builder that is offering 4.99%. They're offering 6% concessions, just crazy incentives that can provide an opportunity for people that are struggling with affordability, things like that. So regardless of what the market is, the market's always weird. I think the key is, where is the opportunity and who can benefit from that? That's going to force you to pivot. You have to be flexible. The market moves, the market changes, and the market becomes more or less favorable for different groups of people. If you want to have consistent production, you might have to ebb and flow a little bit as to who you're going to target that can best transact in the given market of the day.
I mean, that's a perfect example of adding value right there, right? You're right. The market is always weird. It's always unpredictable. And whatever is happening today is not going to be what's happening down the road, probably even like 3, 4, 5, 6 months from now. Like, so the market's always shifting. And if you're not on top of it, if you're not paying attention, a lot of people I guarantee you there's a lot of people in your market, a lot of real estate agents in your market that have no clue that what you just said is the truth. They don't even think they've been selling the old way, and they're not providing that value to their buyers, to the right buyers, because they're not paying attention to the market and the dynamics and what's happening right now. And you've left them behind because of that.
Yes, you have to be flexible. And that's where I think I have a unique advantage of still being in it. There are a lot of team leaders and brokers that retired 12 years ago, and I get it. I understand that's kind of the next step for a lot of people, but I do still see value at some level, even if you're not doing it full time, but at some level, if you want to lead agents, you should be in the market to some degree. You should understand that 40+% of the inventory in Utah County is new construction. You should know that the average days on market right now is 56 days. You should, all of these things will allow you to better serve your agents. Yeah. Instead of doing a lot of the generic stuff, which we often see, I found more value in getting into the weeds. This business, talking about agents specifically, is a hyper-local business. This isn't about trying to get thousands of customers. If you get 50, 60 customers a year, you are in the top 1% of your industry. Very few other professions can say that. So you don't need dozens and dozens and hundreds of clients. You just need to find 50 to 60 people that are your target demographic that you know can benefit from this market, get good enough at communicating to those 50 to 60 people so that they will transact with you. And at that level, you're making $300, $400, $5,000, $100,000 a year. It's a crazy good living with very few clients. Yep. Because as I tell agents all the time, we're expensive. So hopefully we have something that can back that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. You have a training program, Elevate, right? Sounds like it's a 6-week intensive training program. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah. So what I want to know is, what do you see that the people that are successful after that training program, like there's people that do it that are very successful. There's people that do it that aren't as successful, or maybe not even successful at all. I'm sure you have some of that too. What is the difference in the people that are successful and those who aren't quite as successful?
It's just one thing, Todd, one thing and one thing alone. Do you implement or do you not implement? Yeah. As an educator, it's so hard. It's been one of the hardest things for me was I would put all this effort into a course. Man, yeah. This course is it. I love it. It's got everything, and nobody does anything about it.
Yeah.
Nobody finished the finish rate of online courses is incredibly low.
So
Very
low.
few people either get through it, and the people that get through it, even less actually do something about
Yeah.
it. So I often say that our industry is full of CE junkies. Realtors love going to networking events, love going to classes, but nothing ever gets done. So I often refer to the best definition that I have learned of learning and intelligence. I didn't make this up. I heard it somewhere else, but it's the best definition. It's helped me tremendously. The definition of learning is same circumstance, different behavior. Same circumstance, different behavior. So if you take calls and there's no script, and then you take another call and there's no script, another call, no script, you have not learned. Regardless of how many classes you went to, or if there's a marketing class and you don't do anything, you've indeed learned nothing. Pair that with a definition of intelligence, which is rate of learning. I learned this from Alex Hormozy. How quickly do you implement the things that you are told? So if you go to a class that's about Instagram Reels, how long does it take you to make that first reel? Whoever does it fastest is the most intelligent.
I love that. It's so true too. I think about how many books I've read and how many I've actually implemented and haven't. I stopped a while ago, like buying new books, because I would buy a new book and then I'd read it and then I'd read the next one and read the next one. And I'm like, I'm not implementing any of this stuff. So I actually started going back and rereading books, re-listening to books on Audible, and going, I gotta implement this stuff. If I'm just listening to it and I'm not implementing, what good is it? Especially some of these technical, things that you really need to implement in order for you to get any benefit from. As one of the things I say on the podcast is like, look, go rewind this show and pick one thing. You don't need it. Look, Tony, you've given a lot of good advice already so far. I don't need the listeners to go back and re-listen to this whole episode and take every single thing you've said. That's great if they do. But just take one thing that Tony has said today and implement it. That's the key. Like implement that.
It's the only thing, Todd. It's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
Because it's not reading for the sake of reading. I remember on one occasion, I saw on social media that somebody, I don't remember who it was, but somebody had this 52 book a year challenge. And I thought it was so cool. I thought, yeah, we're going to read 52 books. I remember getting into it and I was reading or listening to a book a week. And I remember my mentor at the time telling me, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, why are you trying to read 50? Like, that makes no sense. And I actually took it personal. I was like, this dude, I didn't love it. I was probably 24, 25 at the time. I was trying to do the whole life coach thing. It was dumb. But 52 books in a year, he's like, why, bro? Just read, to your point, read a couple and just implement. If it's not reading for the sake of reading. So often we think we're being productive because we're reading a lot of books. You're wasting your time. You'd be better off just listening to music that can improve your mood. Like you're not moving the needle unless you actually take that and implement it. So I have books that I will read and I'll only get through 2-3 pages. That's fine. It's not a race. It's not a race. I rather you read 3 pages and actually internalize it, learn it, and make it a part of your future than trying to speed read a book a month for no reason, just to say it on social media and get a couple of likes.
Yeah, it's that's exactly what it is, right? It's just you're able to make a post with the pictures of the books you've read, and you throw them on the floor, take a picture or whatever you do.
I did it. I know. I've been there. It's dumb. Yeah. There's no value to
it. There's very little value. That's reading for entertainment. That's simply it, right? If you're not implementing, you're reading for entertainment. If you're not implementing a podcast, you're listening for entertainment. And that's okay, I guess. But that's a big difference than actually implementation versus entertainment.
Yeah, like go watch Lord of the Rings. It's a better use of your time.
A lot more entertaining than listening to the two of us speak, right?
I'll die on that hill, my friend.
Yeah. Well, it's cool. Tony, man, this has been great. What other, any other pieces of advice that you've been like just wanting to give right now? Practice.
It sounds so cliche and it sounds so Phil Jackson, but practice. This is the game that we're playing. When I tell agents we're doing these role plays, these practices, whether it's whatever it is, this is the game that you're playing. This is Steph Curry shooting free throws.
Mhm.
You're never too good to do that. You're never too good to do that. And I'm baffled that I see agents this because they sold 7 last year. They think they're too cool for school. If that's your aspiration, cool, that's fine. But also what I found is that real estate, whether it's on the agent side, on the investor side, buyer seller side, the reason why I love it so much is because it's an industry that is full of hope. Everybody has a lot of hope in this
Yeah.
game. The
Yeah.
investor has hope that he's going to get a good return. The buyer hopes to have their own home. The seller hopes to sell at a good price to then do the next thing. The agent damn well hopes that this will be a good career path for them. And so
Yeah.
all of this hope in this industry is, I think, one of the benefits. I love it for that very same reason. But in order for it to become what you hope it will become, you can't be too cool for school. You didn't get your license to sell 4 homes a year. I promise you that is not the reason why you got your license. But if these insecurities, if this lack of, what's the correct word? If this lack of effort is what's holding you back, you're not going to last very long. Steph Curry shoots free throws every day. Greatest shooter in the world, still shoots free throws every day. What on earth makes you think that you should not practice your skill set when you're not the Steph Curry of anything?
Yeah. 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 That's, I mean, and I love the reference, right? I mean, it's just look, there's no pro athlete that just shows up and they're the best. It just doesn't. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Steph
Tom
Curry,
Brady, all of them.
like these guys practiced. And when you listen to them, when you listen to people that trained them, when you listen to them talk, they showed up earlier than everybody else. They're in the gym longer than everybody else. They took less days off than everybody else. And they worked and practiced and practiced. And a lot of like, it goes back to that reading those tons of books. Like they didn't practice all kinds of crazy skills. You know, they practiced the free throw over and over. Tiger Woods practices putt over and over and over and over. He made it, but he just continued to do it, right? And so it's just about doing the little things, continuing to do it. I love that. So, all right. I got a couple last questions. We're going to shift gears a bit. What's a
Sure.
favorite book you can recommend to our listeners?
Oh, it depends. The Shoe Dog is always great. The story
I
of
love
Nike
that book.
is phenomenal. If we talk about communication, Crucial Conversations is a big one.
Yeah, it's a
Absolutely
great book
read
too.
Crucial Conversations. When we talk about service-based businesses, Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara, classic. Love that one. As far as like getting along better with people, better communication, How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is a very cliche one. But yeah, and if we talk about fiction, I'm a big Da Vinci Code guy. I love Dan Brown. So yeah, there's a little bit of everything in there.
Love it. Love it. All right. Last question before we wrap. What are your 3 pillars of wealth creation?
Great question. You know, wealth is actually a funny concept for me. Is when I grew up, we didn't grow up. I wouldn't say we grew up poor. We grew up lower middle class. And I remember whenever we went somewhere, whether it's a nice neighborhood or there was nice cars or something, I remember my dad, he would always use the same phrase all the time. He still does it to this day. He would look around at these houses or these cars and he'd say, I wonder how they do it. I wonder how they do it. We never owned a home growing up. I probably lived in 10 different homes. We had 6 dogs. And so, as you can imagine, we would be in a house for a year, 18 months. Dogs would trash the house. Landlord says, you guys got to get out. So I lived in 10, 11 homes growing up, all in a very small radius. So as I drive through town, I still live in the same town. There are all these houses that I used to live in. And so I share that only to say what I realized was that one of the core pillars to wealth outside of money is the ability to choose.
Mm.
For me and for the people that I've gone on to help in terms of real estate, it's the ability to choose. You can choose your neighborhood. You can choose where you want to live. You can choose to stay or to leave. It's not a situation where a landlord is going to knock on the door and say, hey, I'm either going to increase your rent $400 or I'm going to sell the house or I'm not going to renew you. And now you have to figure that out. The ability to choose, I think, is a big indicator of wealth. To choose, do I want to eat out today? choose, do I want to go on vacation with my family? Do I not? The ability to choose without anxiety, I think is for me the biggest one. You obviously have your financials and things like that, getting all that taken care of. I think the other thing is and this is a tough one because my wife and I just watched a Netflix series called Adolescence. I highly recommend it. And it's about parenting. It's about a 13-year-old kid that gets arrested on suspicion of murder, all of these things. But basically, me and my wife, we were just talking about this last night. It's how are our kids doing? Like literally, how are they doing? And it was really telling because in the morning we had a doctor's appointment. And I know that a lot of these things can be out of parents' hands, but we had a doctor's appointment. Kids are healthy. Kids are doing well. We watched this series at night. My son is already in bed. And we're thinking, how are they doing? How are we setting them up for success? How are we not damaging them in a way that then they're going to have to deal with later? So I think it's a combination of, if we say that the three, the financial one obviously matters, but it's the ability to choose and the health, both physical, emotional, of the people that sleep in your building, I think are the main ones for me.
I love that about the kids. I've got like timely, right? I've got an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old, almost 12 and almost 16. So I might have to look at I don't think we have Netflix, but I can find it somewhere, right? And how are our kids doing? Like, we don't ask that enough. You don't ask.
And that's why I love that series, because it really highlights, the first half is about the whole case, but then the second half is about the parents. And there's an entire sequence. It's probably a 12-minute sequence where it's just here. And it's all of those things. I mean, the dad says, I had no idea. I was focused on work. I left at 6 a.m. I came back at 8 p.m. I thought I was doing the right thing. The mom would say, I mean, he seemed fine. He was just in his room all day. He was on his computer. Sometimes we can be so blind to these things to where in an extreme situation like that, which is obviously fiction, what could I have done better? I'm sorry. I don't know. And so that for me was really eye-opening of how are our kids truly doing? How can we find ways to actually, what's the correct word? Inspire trust, to have real conversations with them. I grew up lying to my parents. Let's be real. I didn't want to get in trouble. My mom's really loud, really fiery. I grew up lying to my parents. They weren't exactly people that, and I've had this conversation now as adults, which is why I can share, but I can't say that my mom was somebody that I wanted to talk to about my life growing up.
Yeah.
I have tried to some degree change that with my children. Time will tell if I'm successful or not.
Yeah.
But that's just really timely and really on my mind today.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Appreciate that. Man, Tony, this has been great. A lot of good information. Like I said earlier, my listeners, take one thing and apply it to your life today. Because the actions that you take today, just 1%, like that's what I want to do, is become 1% better every single day. If I can do that, man, that's a successful day. Tony, how can our listeners get in touch with you, learn more about what you got going on?
For sure. I'm on pretty much any social media platform. The most active one right now is Instagram. So tonyacosta.co. Yeah, that's probably the easiest way.
Love it. Tony, again, really appreciate you. You have a fantastic rest of the day.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So
The other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out, and we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.